Hello all my Kenvians and welcome to another episode of Discovering Steven Universe. Today, the episode I'm going to be watching and reviewing is Rose's Scabbard. And contrary to what I said at the end of the previous episode, I realized in between recording here that a scabbard is essentially the sheath that holds the sword. So I think that maybe they find the sheath for Rose's sword, which is the sword that came out of the lion previously. So just sort of a clarification there, I apologize. But yeah, let's get right into it. I'm very much looking forward to this episode and seeing what happens. So let's begin Rose's Scabbard.
I don't like to disturb it, but Garnet said we can't just leave these lying around.
Wow.
You never know when you might need one of these. I need one of those all the time! Or you. Okay.
That's what happens when you try to train a cat.
That's the scabbard for Rose's sword!
Oh, there you go.
Gimme! Gimme! Shoot! Shoot! Mom, right. I fought alongside her, Steven. What was Mom like? She was courageous and brilliant and beautiful. Sometimes you look so much like her. Really? Steven, maybe you should hold on to this. Okay.
But I feel like...
1 hour hike that way, followed by a vertical climb of
Oh,
6 degrees. Think you can handle it? So confident. The words she could share with no one
Pearl
else. I was there to
loved Rose? Like, was in love with her.
Had to, Steven. It's the mark of a great leader. How did it get in there? I don't know, but there's a ton of stuff in there. I keep stuff in him too.
Oh, that's glorious.
How? You
Uh-oh.
can't understand how I feel. None of you have what we had. She
Oh,
probably just
yeah,
wanted
she
to
loved her.
protect you like everyone else.
That's...
What do you know? You've never even met her.
Oh... So I mean, there have been things said before, like, you know, just sort of mentions
Stay away from me.
previously,
You better
but
get one out, Lion.
I mean, the way she reacted then,
I had a talk with Lion. He's good.
I wonder if, I'll try and remember all this stuff during the review. Oh, this isn't going to end well. Yep, I was going to say, because he doesn't have super jumping powers. Yep. Seriously, Pearl? Holy crap. Yeah, show concern, and then...
Pearl, why would I ever want to go home if you're here?
Yeah.
My Pearl, you're wonderful. Well, I think you're pretty great.
Oh. Okay. I wasn't expecting cry. She kind of looked like one of the doctors just then. Or is it just me? That's too bad we're not getting any of this and it's only with the montage music. Okay, wow. That was that was a surprisingly powerful episode. I mean, I feel like I've said all of them have been powerful, like in these past 3 recordings, but I mean, this episode in particular, I think, brought out the most. I mean, story-wise, overall plot-wise, character-wise, that probably any of them have, at least for a while. And I mean, well, one thing that I was trying to say earlier, and I do apologize if my thoughts were rather scattered, because I was trying not to talk over what was going on too much. But, I mean, one thing that I definitely know has been implied, or at the very least, well, yeah, implied seems like the best word, and that is that Pearl has had a great affinity, or you could even say love, for Rose. She was very dedicated to her. She was very... she had a huge attachment to her. But then, I mean, with this episode, any doubt in my mind that she might have been in love with her is completely gone. I mean, it is very, very clear that Pearl loved Rose. It's like, you know, you love your friends, you love your family, but then this was like love that Pearl had for her. And I'm curious, just another thing that I want to learn more about as far as the character Rose goes, is whether or not, like, she reciprocated those feelings, because she at least in the hologram, I don't know if those are like her actual words, but in the hologram she referred to Pearl as my Pearl, which in my mind, you know, is a very, it seems like an affectionate term. So maybe, I don't know, I don't know whether to say, like, maybe they were a couple at some point, or maybe they were partners, you know, side by side, especially in the battle of all things. It's like, I think the one way I'll be able to really answer any of those questions I have right now is finding out whether or not Pearl reciprocated, or, I'm sorry, whether or not Rose reciprocated the feelings that Pearl had for her. And I feel like I have I actually have a couple of annoyances with this episode, but at the same time, those annoyances also kind of work in a positive way. So I guess this is going to be sort of a mix of the two. But I know in the previous episode, I mentioned how the art around Steven, for like those few takes, like those few scenes where he's just like standing there and the art looked off to me, those were still, you know, those were annoyances that I had and still have. But then, like, with Pearl, especially when she's getting especially distraught, or she's getting confused, and just everything that's going on, it seems like her animation, or even the style of her drawing, changes subtly to the point where it seems lower quality, or just I don't know, it's part of me almost feels like, what if because of her distressed state there, the animation, or again, the drawing style of her is used to portray her emotional state, because their physical bodies are projections from the gems. So if Pearl herself is feeling distraught and just torn apart, that would explain why the way she looks just goes back and forth as far as its, I don't know if it's quality, again, is the right word, but I feel like it that change or that lowering of quality in my eyes is very appropriate here. So yeah, again, it's like that's sort of a plus and negative, but I feel like while it could be a negative of the art style, it is very much intentional here, and that's why it works for me. Now, the other annoyance that I have, and again, this, I don't know if it will work as a positive, but it makes sense, but it's after Steven goes to try and make that final jump over to the last platform where Pearl is, and Pearl turns around and sees that he's not going to make the jump, and I mean, she yells for him. It's like she kind of reaches for him, and thankfully he manages to grab on to the bottom of the vines and climbs his way up. But that was the first time that when Steven was in the legitimate danger, that she didn't try to help him. And I don't know if that's more of an annoyance on the character's motives on my part, or what exactly. But at the same time, it makes sense because Pearl is so torn apart by everything that's transpired through this episode. What she said to Steven, the way she feels about everything, of knowing, or of learning that despite the fact that she thought she knew all of Rose's secrets, that she realizes she may not, or that she doesn't know all of Rose's secrets. I mean, none of them seemingly knew about Lion. That Lion might be something that came around after Rose left. I don't know. But so yeah. There's a lot of good, and even the things that I can consider annoyances or maybe negatives in this episode, they all make sense. They all feel right contextually. So I think this may be and I'm sure I've said this in like half the episodes that have come before it, but I feel like this is the strongest episode yet overall. I mean, especially there with that end when Steven hugs Pearl. It really got me right there. Although I will say this. First of all, track of the episode definitely has to go to the track at the end, basically from the point where Steven hugs Pearl all the way to the end, sort of that little montage music. It was beautiful, it was really well done, and I really enjoyed it. It felt perfectly appropriate for everything we were seeing, and it was really beautiful music. But on the other hand, this is probably one annoyance that I admittedly do have, that maybe doesn't have exactly a full plus side, but I feel like the little montage at the end wasn't really necessary. It's like Pearl is telling these stories to Steven after he finds that flag, and we don't hear any of it. I mean, it's apparently, at least to Steven, pretty interesting because he reaches into Lion and pulls out a soda, so he's pretty intrigued and wanting to pay attention. I wish we could have gotten some of that. I wish we could have heard some of the stories that she was telling. Now, I'm sure they probably did it because of, time constraints on the episode, but I don't know, I felt kind of cheated in that way, honestly. I felt kind of cheated that we didn't get to experience more of what they sort of glossed over in that little montage. But yeah, overall, I would have to say that's probably my only real legitimate gripe with this episode. And in the end, considering everything else in the episode that is just so strong and powerful about it, I feel like that one is basically negligible, because Lord knows that I mean, it's very apparent that they can fit in a lot of story and a lot of emotion in the span of 11 to 12 minutes. And that includes the, opening and closing themes. So yeah, overall, I really liked this episode. And one thing that actually did come to mind, and maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but, oh, wait. Actually, no. I think I was thinking back to a different episode, so I think I just kind of confused myself there. So I think I actually got my thoughts mixed up with some of the other episodes that I've recorded tonight, so I apologize. I'll most likely just trim this portion out. But anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Discovering Steven Universe. Now, one thing I do know is that from here, the ordering of the episodes gets all kinds of weird. And what I mean by that is that what is displayed as the following episodes on Hulu isn't the intended order of the actual episodes. So according to Hulu, the next episode would be The Message, but the actual next episode that I will be watching and reviewing will be Open Book. And yeah, it looks like, well, several episodes seem pretty much in order from that point. However, it, like I said, it looks like it's going to be a little bit wonky, but I'm going to pay attention to what we have here in the Steven Universe Wikia, and it goes along with the list given out by some of the main people of Steven Universe. So, I'm going to stick with that list, and I will see you all next time for Open Book. And until then, everyone, Papa Ken, signing off.